G'day guys and welcome back to the Sportsnet129 YouTube channel, and in today's video we will be doing my round 7 AFL tips and predictions. So before we get into the tips, I'd just like to shout out Cam Harrison, who won the margin comp for the week. Margin comp this round will be Sydney-Brisbane, so please comment your margin and predictions for that. But before we get into the tips, we'll go over the last rounds. So St Kilda beat the Giants. How good are they going? Stiff to not be into the top 4. I think there's a massive gap between the top 6 teams and the rest. But yeah, really not the best performance by the Saints, but just getting the job done was all they had to do. Now the Dogs, they've kicked me out of the gauntlet. I'm not in that anymore, so that's one less thing we've got to worry about. Watching this game, they just could not get anything going, and you know, I guess they were lucky to only lose by 1 point, but credit to Adelaide, they were great with their pressure. They were outstanding. Port Adelaide beat West Coast, first win of the season in an absolute flogging. West Coast aren't going good at all, which is concerning for them. Freo Carlton, that was a decent game to watch. Really good performance by Freo. At home, they beat the Blues pretty comfortably, so that was a good win. Geelong beat North comfortably. I thought, because it would be at Hobart, thought it would be pretty close, but nonetheless, I got the tip right. And then you've got the Q Clash, they're never close. Brisbane not absolutely, it was actually pretty close throughout. It was a pretty good game to watch until that halfway through that third quarter, then it just changed. Richmond, they were alright, but then again, D's kicked 22 points, but it's the closest anybody's got to Melbourne this year, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not round 1. Actually, no, the Suns were closer. But yeah, again, Melbourne just getting the job done, 6-0. Can't really see them losing a game, even though it will happen at some point. Look, the Hawks, I got the tip wrong. They weren't as bad as what the scorecard suggests, though. We came out guns blazing. That first quarter was amazing. Second and third, we just found a way just to keep the lead, keep it ticking. Even though we weren't playing amazing footy, but we kept the lead. And then, I don't know what happened in that last quarter, but we just got absolutely pumped. Yeah, it was pretty bad to watch, but I'm pretty happy with how the boys perform. You can't really be expecting much more, even though it would be nice just to play that little bit more 4 quarters footy. Then the Pies beat Essendon in pretty good game on Anzac Day, the best game of the round, I'd say, even though the Dogs Crows was a 1-pointer. So 7 out of 9 tipping for me. It was a decent week. I've got 37 tips overall, and yeah, let's get into this week's tips. So first of all, why is this game Friday night? That's why the floating fixtures actually could be decent, because yeah, that's why it's actually decent, so this game wouldn't be on a Friday night. I tell you what, Sydney-Brisbane, this should be the Friday night game and not a Sunday 4:40. Like, why can't we just swap them 2 games around? But anyways, it's no good. Sunday 4:40, that has to be the worst game, the worst time for every game of the round fixture. So that's one bonus for the floating fixtures. But I still not a fan. Anyways, to this game now, I think I'm going to tip the Tigers. Even though it's at Optus, it's not really a fortress anymore. You just can't back the Eagles in at the moment. They've got demolished the last few rounds. Who am I going to tip? What am I going to tip him by? Because I don't want to lose margin if West Coast somehow win. But I want to tip them by just a small margin, just in case. So, yeah. I think I'll tip him by 39 points. Actually, no, I'd tip him by a bit more. 48 points. 8 goals. I just feel like they'll be way too strong. Geelong versus Fremantle now. I think this game will be a close game throughout, and then Cats will get tired. Freo will hit the lead, but then the Cats will just seal it late in an absolute epic by 9 points. Even though it is a GMHBA, I just feel like Freo will give them right up to them, and then Geelong will just flex their muscle late. But it is a day game at GMHBA. I feel like they could be flocking to Geelong. But I'll tip Geelong by 9 points. Now, this game, Adelaide versus GWS. Look, I see this as a potential upset. I know Adelaide are flying at the moment. 2 Saturday Arvo games, that's good at 2. I know Adelaide are flying at the moment, but you've just got to... GWS, I think, will be revved up during the week. They'll come out flying, and as soon as that crowd gets silenced, GWS get on top. I feel like they win in an upset. It's about time they do something. It's a very risky tip. I might look like an idiot afterwards, but I'm going to tip them. I think they can get the job done. So now we got Melbourne versus Hawthorn. I hope the Hawks can get up, but we've showed enough this year that we could do it, but it's just whether or not that, we actually can sustain it for 4 quarters, because we saw Melbourne just punish GWS in that third. That's what will happen to us if we're not careful. So, we're going to have to play 4 quarters of footy if we're going to win this. Melbourne are 6-0. I could definitely see an upset happening. Not being biased, trying not to be. It's pretty biased, but you can't tip against Melbourne here, even as a Hawthorn supporter. That 3% has to be just from people who don't know footy or Hawthorn supporters. Yeah, I've got to tip safe. I can't just tip Hawthorn and then we get flogged. That'd be just a silly tip, tipping Hawthorn, even though we could upset them. We drew against them last year, and then similar thing to what we did on the weekend. We were only 4 points behind the first time we played them in the year, then lost by 50. We just ran out of legs. So I feel like we can take it up to them. All we got to do to beat them is to bring it to ground in that forward 50. We got to get it in there first, which will be a challenge in itself, because teams just can't score against the Ds. They'll only score 70 to 80 a game, but we just can't score. Teams just can't score against them, but I'll tip the Ds by 30 points. Now, the Saints facing the Power. Now, the Power looked like they sort of got it back on the weekend against the Eagles, but I don't know if I can tip them. It's in Cairns, and the Saints are flying. You can't tip against the Saints, especially against the Power, unless they're playing Freo at Optus, or the G, or Geelong at GMHBA, or Melbourne at the G. You can't tip against the Saints right now. They're in such good form, and I'm going to tip them by 28 points. I feel like they'll get the job done pretty comfortably. Now we got Carlton versus North. I think the Blues should win this, but wouldn't be too surprised if North somehow got this upset. This is the typical game that the Blues drop, but I think they're pretty new now under Voss. These is the games that they're going to start winning, and I reckon that will help them make the 8. Obviously, they're coming off the back of the loss to Freo, but at Optus, they're not a good team interstate. Back at Marvel, they should get the job done. Not as comfortably as people think, though, but only 15 points. Now we got the Sunday games, 1:10 at the G. We got the Pies taking on the Suns. Yeah, look, I think I'm going to tip the Pies. At the G, They were very good on Anzac Day. Jack Ginnivan's a star. And yeah, I just reckon they'll win. But who knows? I'll tip them by 48 points in a pumping, honestly. So now we got the Dogs taking on the Bombers. Now, I think this will be pretty good contest. But the Dogs would just be a bit too strong in the end. But both teams need a win desperately. At Marvel, I think the Dogs will get the job done. Now this should be Friday night. Will be the games around 50-50, 51-49, 50-50. I'm leaning towards the Lions. I think they're a better team. And at the SCG, like, the Swans actually don't play that well at the SCG. I'm going to lean towards the Lions. I think they're a better team. But the Swans could just get the job down out of nowhere. I'm going to tip the Lions, though. Going to back them in on the road. So that is my tips. Don't forget to comment for a margin and for that game, Sydney versus Brisbane. Like and subscribe. Trying to get to 300 subs by the end of the footy season. So see ya.